Welcome to Think About It Reviews. Welcome, guys. And I finally got to check out the best picture of the year. I believe it was, 2015? 2015, Spotlight. Now, this is directed by Tom McCarthy. It's starring Mark Ruffalo, Michael Keaton, Rachel McAdams, Liev Schreiber, you know, the guy, the guy Sabretooth from X-Men Origins. Yeah, X-Men Origins. Now, this is one Best Picture. And won Best Picture from the Oscars, I believe, in 2015. And so I really wanted to check this out because it's an interesting subject as well. It's a subject that needs to be talked about because what are the most powerful organizations? Yes, I'm going to include it in an organization, or I'm not here to ridicule. I'm not here to, point fingers. I'm not here to, if you believe in what you believe, that's what you believe in. And I believe what I believe in. But who has the power? Who has all the chips? And I think the government is one of them. And I think the church is the other. I think any kind of religious kind of church, whatever you believe in, has somewhat power. And that power is the people over the people, or maybe even being behind the scenes. We don't know how big, like the Vatican and all that stuff. And that's what Spotlight kind of really dwells into. It's set in Boston. It's based off true events. Spotlight is this newspaper kind of like team that goes around, picks their own stories, and they cover, like, Spotlight is the main, that's what everybody wants to, that's the spotlight, that's what people read because it's under the spotlight, while everything else kind of is thrown on the backside. This was an interesting film. And this was interesting that it won Best Picture. After leaving the theater after watching this, I don't think it was Best Picture, honestly. That's my opinion. It was well directed, great cinematography. It was very bright. The acting's solid around. I don't know about Mark Ruffalo, but the acting's very solid. The subject matter is very controversial, yet it's one of those those issues that Academy loves. That doesn't necessarily mean that, it does not need to be spoken about. I mean, I think this is a movie that a lot of people should go check out because the subject matter, and it kind of died. I remember back in the day hearing about this and then it dying off, and now we're kind of getting back into the subject matter. What this film really is about is this news. Somebody comes in, Liev Schreiber. I believe his name is Barron. His name's Barron. He's the head of the whole newspaper now. He's in charge of everything, and he wants Spotlight to focus on this one case that has to do with a priest molesting a child. Now everybody's like, well, why are we focusing on that? We have it on the side notes, like it's not that big of a deal, but it turns up being a huge deal, and there's a lot of shady stuff. So basically, what this film is about, it's about the Catholic Church, the priests molesting kids way back, and nobody doing anything about it, not even going through the court system, nothing like that. Like, it wasn't spotlighted, and now it's spotlighted. So this was around the setting. It's about the time, when 9/11 is going on. So it's a subject that nobody wanted to dwell into because a lot of other matters were present. But the subject matter automatically is very intriguing because that's what goes on in the world. It's sad, but that's what happens in the world, and people need to really notice that. People need, like me, I'll talk about that shit. I'll talk about. I don't think I'm going to talk about it too much on this review because I'm reviewing the film as a whole. But that's something people do need to sit down there and look at, just kind of talk about, just really bring it up again, because this shit hasn't gone away. This shit has nowhere near gone away. This is one of the issues that we have to deal with, many other issues that are wrong with the world, and that's priests molesting children. I don't understand why priests can't get married. I believe it's Catholic priests that don't get married, who can't get married. So I don't understand that. And at one point, it just leads to a bigger crisis. And I'm not saying that's the reason why these, they're doing this is because they can't get married. They can't, it's temptation, this and that. But this subject like really needs to be talked about, and these people are still doing it out there. And I think we need to spotlight this even more. We're spotlighting a lot of troubles in our world, but this is one of them right there. And a lot of people don't go after it because it is the church, it is religion, and religion, politics are such a touchy subject. But somebody who has the balls to actually go and say like, this is wrong, we need to investigate, just like this film in this film, they're pushing boundaries. They're going after these people. They're trying to get they're trying to do this, get documents. They're trying to get information. They're talking to victims. So that's what was so intriguing about the film, was when we finally reached to these victims and finally them speaking on the matter of, yeah, I got raped. And it wasn't just like I got molested. They actually went into detail on how they got molested, how these priests lured them in through this whole situation. So it definitely really not opens your eyes, but it reopens your eyes. It really is just like, your head was turned away for a little bit, but then when you hear this, it's like, you're right, that's going on, isn't there? This film, though, started off very, very slow. Honestly, I watched it with my mother, my grandmother, and her friend. And my grandmother, I was sitting next to my grandmother because she's handicapped, and she's just falling asleep. So I had to wake her up. My mom was falling asleep. She woke up by herself, though, and her friend definitely fell asleep for like 20 minutes. Me, I was kind of dozing off because I just got off work and I was watching this film. But it really does start off very, very slow. It feels like a Law and Order kind of episode, and it just doesn't really get you going. It doesn't really entertain. There's nothing visually that's stunning. It's actually shot in it kind of reminded me a little bit of The Office. I'm not saying it was like The Office episodes. I'm just saying it reminded me kind of like I was in The Office. Like I was actually, what was good about it was I felt like I was actually there. Like, yeah, goddamn it, Michael Keaton, get on to that. Yes. But once the victims started to come through, and once Rachel McAdams is starting to, because she is in this film and she's great, once she starts seeing some victims and them telling their stories, you get intrigued. But there is still slow parts throughout the film. There is still talking, lots of dialogue. The dialogue keeps you engaged, but some of it it just goes overhead because you don't know what the fuck they are talking. What are they talking about? What are you talking about? But you get the gist of it. And Mark Ruffalo, you really follow this guy because this guy is very passionate about this whole story. At first, he's like, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, all right, we could do that. But then he gets really invested into it. And I think that's where you really get invested in the film, too, because of Mark Ruffalo and him trying to really just like rushing to get a lot of documents here and there. And you're very intrigued to seeing if they have because this case was presented to them 10 years ago, and somebody kind of brushed it aside. So you're wondering, who is this somebody who brushed this case aside? It was a good film. I didn't really necessarily like the ending of the film. I understand why it ended it like that, but I kind of wished, it's based off true events. So, I mean, it's not like they took the whole Vatican down, this and that. We all know that. But it's a touchy subject, but it's a subject that needs to be talked about. And I think this film is very much talked about after people get out. They're kind of horrified about God damn, that many people, that this situation blew up that much. And it did. But Spotlight was a solid film. Just wasn't Best Picture for me. And what I mean is Best Picture, when I think of Best Picture, I think of films that I'm not saying that it played safe. I mean, this is subject matter that they didn't play it safe, but I'm saying directorial with the shots and the cinematography. I just felt like this film was kind of just not going through the motions, but it just didn't have anything that really catches your eye. It has the story that catches you, but it doesn't have the directorial kind of vision. There is some fantastic shots in the film, especially when the newspapers are going through and they're printing some shots from different kind of angles where the team is working on this case. But you can only do so much when people are just there trying to put the pieces together, and that's what this film kind of reminds me of. It kind of reminds me of somebody filming somebody trying to put a puzzle together and trying to film it in the best creative possible way. But I just feel like it just wasn't Best Picture to me. It wasn't. It just wasn't. It was a solid film, but there was some there's slow moments here and there, but there are some moments that really get you intrigued and really get you invested. But it was a solid film, I believe. So, the best film I could think about when I was watching this film, and that had a little bit more. It's by all means not a masterpiece. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it kind of really captured and left a lasting impression to me even more, was the film Sleepers. And Sleepers had Brad Pitt in it, and it's about these kids who not necessarily got molested by the church, but got molested by prison guards when they were in juvenile correctional office. And the priest that is actually in there is Robert De Niro. And there's this whole story where these two kids kill one of the correctional officers, like when they're grown up. They're in court, like that. That gave me a lasting impression. That gave me a lasting kind of memory of that whole like situation of people, kids getting molested violently, and just like that subject matter. So Sleepers is definitely a film you should check out. I do recommend you watch Sleepers. I think that gives you a lasting impression on, the horrors of what happens in the everyday world. And this is going on. This is still going on. This is the church, the Vatican have power. Am I saying all of them are evil? Am I saying, oh my God, if you're a Catholic, oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. I have Jehovah's friends. I don't have any Jewish friends. I have Catholic friends, Christian friends. I mean, I have every aspect of religion who I'm friends with. It's the two number things. You don't talk about politics. You don't talk about religion. I think you go on, they believe what you want to believe, and I believe what I want to believe. So, but it's something though. Something like this does need to be talked about, because stuff like this does happen. And just like, things happen in Africa where kids are being set to kill other villages, murder people from villages and stuff. That's there. That's there. We live in the United States where we see a lot more celebrities. We see a lot more, we're worried about Donald Trump and this and that, but it's like, the gang life. It's like this, you're raised in the streets. It's there. It's there. As much as, no matter where you're at, if you're living comfortably. I mean, I'm living very comfortably. I'm very blessed to have whatever I have. But you got to realize that there's people that are suffering out there, and these victims, they suffered. So this film did leave, it rejuvenated, it really opened, and maybe turned the other way again, back to this kind of issue, what's going on here. And I hope this film does do that to a lot more people who watch it. So it was a solid film. I just can't say it was best picture, because there was a lot of things that, like I said, the pacing was a little bit off to me. It was a little bit slower. The direction, you can only do so much in this type of film. The dialogue kind of went overboard. I had no clue what was going on, but some of the things that were going on, what they were talking about at least. But overall, great performances. Mark Ruffalo's performance was okay. I think he was trying to do a little Boston accent. I don't think it paid off too well, but overall, I do recommend you check out Spotlight. It is a solid film. I don't know if it's best picture, but check it out anyway. I'm Dan Magadana's son. Like I always say, guys, grab a ticket, grab a seat. Make sure you got some good popcorn. I'll see you at the cinema, and hopefully I get to go see Hardcore Henry. But when you get out of this film, comment below and just let me know what you guys think about this issue. I mean, it's a good thing to to have a conversation on. So, because it's a touchy subject, but it's a film that makes you get out of the film and say, well, what is going on in this world? Where are we at right now? So, thank you. I'm Dan Maynard. I'm out. Bye.